Hey, it's Laura.
It's Amanda.
And
we
we're
are Moms on a Mission, where faith, motherhood, and purpose come together.
We're not just raising children, we're raising disciples, striving to make an eternal impact in our homes and beyond.
Here, we choose grace over guilt, progress over perfection, and God's truth over the world's noise.
Together, we'll encourage, uplift, and equip one another to walk boldly in our calling as mothers on a mission.
So, grab your coffee, take a deep breath, and let's dive into this journey of faith-filled motherhood, one step, one prayer, and one mission at a time. All right, here we are. This is going to be episode 7. Woohoo!
Woo woo! We're ticking towards the double digits.
Oh, yeah. All right, we are back. Welcome back to Moms on a Mission. This is episode 7. The juggle is real.
Welcome to the juggle.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Welcome to the juggle. All right, let's kick this one off with a prayer. Lord, we love you. We are so very grateful for all of the things that you have poured out on all of us. Each one of us is blessed. If we have breath in our lungs, we know that we are blessed and we are watched over. Lord, please just watch over all of the families, all of the women, all of the people that are hearing our voices right now. We know that you are using Laura and I to speak to others. Lord, please just continue to let your voice be heard through us. Lord, please just guide our steps, protect us, shroud us. Lord, please protect our communities and all of our families. Just be with us. Let your voice be heard. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So this one is called The Juggle is Real because it is so very true.
It is. And this actually came in via some feedback a couple of weeks ago from two ladies in the community.
Yep.
And they basically were asking the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Which was, how do you do it all?
Yes.
And from a biblical perspective, of course, you just do your best.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it came up because we had mentioned the godly. You said it's the godly wife, right? She's called the godly wife.
Proverbs 31.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
I always had said the godly woman, but it's the godly wife in Proverbs 31. And we had mentioned on the episode that truly, according to this proverb, women are truly called to do it all. This woman that we read about, she has a family, she has children, she has a husband, she has a home, but she also helps provide for the family financially. She has a vineyard, she has employees, she has a business. And so, I remember even saying, so we truly are called to do it all. The question then comes, but how?
Right.
How do we do it all? It is, yes, this is this beautiful picture of this amazing woman, but how do we actually live up to that?
Yeah, because I think I said before, just because we're called to do it all doesn't mean that it's easy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Being called to do it and actually seeing it out by no means makes it a walk in the park, because it's not. And the pressure to be everything to everyone is just exhausting, because there is a distinct difference between productivity and presence.
Mm-hmm. Huge.
They both present their own challenges.
Yes.
They're both important. And I just think that it, coming from the two ladies who chimed in on this, I think it's important to reference the fact that they both have little kids.
Yes.
Like they're 3 and under, I believe.
Yeah.
So we're in a totally different space.
Yeah, you and I are definitely. Yeah. And so, I guess the overall answer to me is, how do you do it all? You don't.
You don't. No, you just do your best.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you are looking at, if we take it back to the Proverbs wife, you have to keep in mind that this is a woman, this is a story of her life, her entire life. She does not have a baby on her hip in this story. She is not breastfeeding. She does not have a 2-year-old in tow. This is a story of her entire life that is being told, really about her. And so when you take a look at someone's life overall and you're talking about things that they achieved, people that they raised, husbands that they, or their husband that they had, their achievements, that's an overall, over the top view of their life. That is not what we are experiencing in our everydays, everyday in and out. When you have babies, that's what you're doing.
Yep.
You are doing baby stuff. After they're babies, then, you're doing other stuff. You're doing sports and school activities and different things like that. And then when they're in high school, you are, the focus kind of starts to come back on you a little bit as a woman and your marriage and, sometimes your home or travel. And then there's another part of life that you start to focus on, and prior to that, there is production. You're trying to make money, you're trying to make it, you're going to
Yep.
school, you're figuring out who you are and what you want to be. Um, there are seasons, and I think it's really easy to forget that when you're waking up every day doing the same thing with, especially with little bitty ones, and you're like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
this is never gonna end.
It's the epitome of the days are long, but the years are short.
Yep.
And to your seasons, like you said, of course, Ecclesiastes 3:1 says, to everything there is a season and a time for every purpose under heaven. So you're right. We won't always get everything done, but we just need to trust that God gives us the grace to do our best,
Yep.
and to see through what we can for each season. We also need to remember kids are not a burden, they are a blessing.
Yes.
And so when you're feeling completely overwhelmed by all of this, there's moms out there that are struggling with infertility or anything of the nature, and they would love they
Hmm.
would love to be bogged down with all of the um, chores and keeping up with babies
Hmm.
and everything that entails, because the things that you may be complaining about, they're praying for.
Right.
And so we need to keep that in mind. They're definitely not a burden. They're absolutely a blessing. Um, and yeah, the seasons. It's easy for us to look back and say that they come and go in the blink of an eye because we've already experienced a couple seasons.
Yep.
But I do like to say that my favorite season is always the one that we're currently in.
Hmm.
I loved when my little guys were babies, and I don't know, maybe I'm the outlier here on this. I don't really wanna go back to that. I
No.
like where we're at now.
Amen to that. Baby stage for me was really hard.
It was very difficult for me too.
I know a lot of mamas, they hold it somebody else's baby and like, "Oh, I'm ready to do it
Baby
again."
fever.
Yeah, no, not me.
Nope, I'm
Nope.
done.
Yeah, totally. Me too, because it was a worrisome time for me.
Yeah,
I slept very little, and not because, there was crying babies all night. It was me.
I was
So
constantly putting my finger under their noses, making
yes.
sure they were
Me
breathing.
too.
Yeah,
I was just terrified. I was so scared that something was going to happen to them. And I just really struggled in that point in my life with fear. And I don't miss that anymore.
yeah.
Now I have new fears like bike crashes.
Tell us about that.
Yep. My 8-year-old had a bike crash over the spring break holiday, and we had just arrived at the campground that we were going to. He comes in crying and bloody, and I'm like, "Oh, what happened?" He's like, "I broke my teeth." Sure enough, his two front, of course, permanent
Oh,
adult
wow.
teeth are both broken in half. It broke my heart, and I'm like, "You've got to be kidding me!" My oldest has also broken his front tooth, and I'm like, "Okay, I'm coming up on 40, still have both of my teeth, and my
Yeah.
kids didn't make it 10 years with both of their teeth."
So,
I'm
boy
like,
mamas, we're talking to you. This is what you have to look forward to.
yes. I mean, it is, it was one of those things and it's definitely a season. There's fears when they're babies, and there's fears when they're, when they're young, and then there's the fears of Lordy mercy, I can't the driving mamas who have
Oh, I am
drivers.
not looking
Oh,
forward to that.
man, me either.
Not at all. And, Maddox he'll be 12 next Wednesday.
Mhm. Oh,
So the
exciting.
23rd, yep, he'll be 12. I can't believe next year I will have a teenager. That seems so wild to me.
Yes.
And he likes to remind me I'm only 3 years out from having my learner's permit. And
Ugh.
I'm like, "I know.
Yeah, you're like,
I
"Stop it."
don't need to be reminded." But he does it every chance that he gets. And yeah, so that's just going to you're exactly right. That'll be a whole new fear.
Mhm.
Because right now it's as it warms up, and they go play outside, we live in a very heavily wooded area. I'm like, "Wear your snake chaps."
Oh, yeah.
Because up here, I'm like, "I don't want you to get snake bit."
Mhm.
Um, and we too will be heading off to do some camping sooner than later, and I know that they will wanna do the same thing. They will wanna take their bicycles, they will wanna ride all over the campground, and I'm like, "You've gotta wear a helmet. If
Yes.
you're
Oh.
on wheels, you gotta wear a helmet," which they do not love, but that's just one of our rules. Um, and, of course, the other day, Josh and I were actually we were looking at four-wheelers to
Mhm.
possibly get Maddox a four-wheeler for his birthday. That's a whole new fear.
Oh, I know. We've had them since the kids were 4,
Yeah.
and, they are used to driving them, which, when Matt first started that, I was like, "You have got to be out of your mind. You take my kid off that
Get my
right
baby
now."
off of there.
But, in hindsight, it has taught them a lot. It's
Oh, yeah.
taught them about, how to actually drive and function on, on wheels and different things like that. But it is. There is always some new fears, and there's always some kind of, I mean, we're in the trenches right now. When
Oh, yeah.
you've got families that you're raising up, there is always a struggle. It's always a juggle.
Yep, it is, and it just depends on where you are age-wise. I don't think that we have it figured out by any means.
No.
I just think that it's very important to reiterate to the moms listening right now that do have kids that are, say, under 5,
Mhm.
um, you're not messing up and you're not doing anything wrong.
Nope.
Your plate's just full right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you wanna take some time to, sit on the couch and binge some trash TV shows, I say go for it. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially if your priorities are in order. It's okay to take some time for you. I've said it multiple times up to this point. Rest is biblical,
Absolutely.
and I'm talking to myself on that one because I'm not very good at it, but it is. It is biblical.
Well, and I have some things with all of that. So, first of all, you need when you're looking at someone else, you need to understand if you really want to say, how does she do it? How are they doing that? Well, you have to make sure you're looking at apples to apples.
Yes.
If you are looking at someone else's situation, I believe me, I'm preaching to myself right here. I easily I'm pea green with envy in different situations, but I do try to remind myself that everybody has a different situation. If somebody looks like they are, doing it all, you might want to pull back the curtain a little bit because
Yeah.
they're everybody has something different going on. If you live in a place like me, like I don't have a lot of family around. Not me and Matt both. Our parents live far away. We don't have sibling. He has one brother close, but he has 4 children. And so,
He's busy.
he's very busy. And so the we don't have a ton of family close. We don't have a babysitter or a nanny. And so it comes to us when it's the kids. If you are looking at somebody going, "Wow, how's she doing it all?" Well, do they have, multiple
Help.
family members close, or do they have someone who helps them, that they pay, or what's their family situation? I struggle on the business side of this. I look at, people's business situation and think, "Man, I I didn't even get close to, to doing that." Well, did I invest the same amount of money? Probably not. Did I have the same type of mentors around me or, no, probably not.
The resources,
Everyone's
the time.
yeah, and it's not a, oh, like, oh, that must be nice. It's just it's not the same. We don't my situation is not the same as somebody else's. And it's when you're looking at somebody and you're feeling that like, oh, I'm not even doing anything like they're doing. Well, no, you might not be, but you need to really make sure that you're looking at the same situation. If you really are going to, struggle with it and be hard on yourself about it, well, make sure you're looking at apples to apples.
Yeah,
If
and
you got a baby on the hip and you're looking at somebody with a teenager,
that's different.
that's totally
That's totally
different.
different. And I just wanted to touch on real quick, you just said it, the whole "that must be nice." That drives me nuts
Oh, yeah.
because you don't know the hard work that was put in behind the scenes,
Mhm.
and really even more than that, you don't know what prayers were prayed.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
So,
that's true.
if you're not on your knees and asking the Lord to help you with something or guide your steps or direct your path or whatever, then you don't get to chime in.
Yeah.
You I'm just a big advocate of it because we've done it with a couple of different businesses. We started from the ground up, and the that must be nice thing just absolutely grinds my gears because for a long time we put in the super late nights and the super early mornings, and we earned it.
Mhm.
And so I think that that's important to keep in mind even in these situations too, is that you truly do reap what you sow.
Yes.
And I'm not saying that we have it all together. I will never say that or speak that way, but I have been, and I'm so thankful for it, complimented on my kids.
Mhm.
I've gotten a ton of great feedback about all 4 of our boys from the episode last week, how
Yeah.
well mannered they were, how they contributed to the conversation. They weren't shy, they didn't hide behind us. They were active in the podcast.
Yeah.
And I just think that speaks to the time and effort that we've put into them.
Yeah.
And if your kids are slipping off the rails or something, maybe you need to look back and see what you're doing.
Well, and so this kinda reminds me of, the situation happened when, my kids were really little, and I remember, I was really big on timeout. Like, you got 2 I can't even remember now, 2 or 3 warnings, and then if you did not do what you're supposed to do, you went to timeout, and I mean,
Hmm.
we're talking little, like,
Oh yeah.
a year, maybe even younger than that, and I had a mom say, "Girl, you're just punishing yourself." And I was like, "No." I mean, yeah, I kinda am, because it's really hard to keep a one-year-old in timeout. I
Yes, it
mean, like,
is.
let's not lie. You have to continue to put them back. There are certain ways to actually there's actually, like, theories behind it and ways to do it of your own behavior. But I thought, "But I'm doing what I said I was gonna do."
Yep. Because if you threaten it,
And
you
yeah,
better see it through.
yeah. Yes, and I thought, "You know what? She's right. I kinda am punishing myself, but I'm gonna do this for this short time so that I'm not trying to do this
At 15.
at 15."
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there are there's a lot of sacrifice that goes into, kinda creating the things that you really want, and that whole you were talking about your business and the whole outlook of like, "Oh, that must be nice." I have on my notes, have you ever seen the headline, "Overnight Success"?
I
That
have.
is an absolute lie.
Lie.
Total 100% lie.
Yep.
If you think that somebody is an overnight success, I don't even care if you look up these, like, I get news feed that says, entrepreneur, multi-million dollar business in 6 months. Well, that's great and all. And that might be like her side hustle hit 1 million in 6 months. Okay, fine. But what was she doing 10 years prior to that? Because
Exactly.
whatever it was, whether she was working in a corporate job that had something to do with her side hustle, or she was building something on the side for the last 5 years, there was time, there was effort, there was something behind that they're not, that didn't make the headline.
Yes, I think the only thing that's truly an overnight anything now is if you happen to go viral for something on social media.
Right, and real I mean, not don't mean to be ugly about it, but if you look at that, it because I mean, I'm speaking to myself as well. I'm big on social media. I do a lot of social media. It takes a ton of time.
Yes, it does.
And so when you go viral once, and it's like, "Oh, that was a big hit," or whatever, what does that really even mean? Like, did it really even affect your business? Was there success that came from that? I don't know. But here again, it's just you really have to sit back and think about, I'm being harsh like this on myself and trying to compare, well, they're look at what they're doing and I'm not. But you looking at the same thing? Are
Right.
you really making a true comparison? If, you know, this overnight success that, has kind of gotten under your skin, was it really an overnight success? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah. No,
there's
there's a lot of backstory there, and it reminds me of we're both entrepreneurs and own our own businesses. When somebody maybe it is a little snarky or complains about the price of something,
oh yeah.
you're just like, well, you're not paying for this 1 hour in particular. You're paying for all of the other hours that I've already dedicated into like honing my craft.
Right.
And the knowledge and the studying and the continuing education that I have done behind the scenes, that's what you're paying for.
Right.
You're paying for the years,
Mhm.
not this 1 hour.
Yep.
Um, and so you're exactly right. Unless you are truly comparing something evenly, I think it's real easy to look at others and um, see where they're at versus where you're at, and either be jealous or wonder what you're doing wrong,
Mhm.
and you're not. You're just not in the same place.
No, you're not in the same place and you don't have the same story. And on my notes too, I have think about what your end goal is. You will pay a price for everything. Spending time on your kids will take you away from other things. It's just the reality of it. You have to decide if it's worth it or not.
Yes.
What's worth it, it's different for everyone. It might be, and it's different in the seasons. Sometimes it's like, nope, this is what I want to be doing right now. I'm going to be doing the kid thing. And in the future, then I'm going to, I can really kind of buckle down when they get a little bit more independence or, the situation might change. But y- the reality is that we don't really talk about a whole lot is that you will pay. You will pay in one area or another. It's just the reality of it.
Yeah, because I have on my notes here a couple things to that as well. The guilt of feeling like you're never giving enough to any one area, which it does become harder when you've got multiple kids.
Yeah.
Um,
Especially at different ages.
yes, yes. I mean, it just does. It becomes harder, but of course, you always again do your best and figure it out. Um, the dangers of comparison. What works for one mom may not work for another. I know we've touched on that. And the biblical encouragement to that would be from Luke 10:41 and 42, the story of Martha and Mary. Are we so busy with tasks that we forget to sit at the feet of Jesus and enjoy the moments that he's given us?
Mm.
And I think I'm guilty of that.
Oh, I'm big time guilty of that.
I'm super guilty of it. But I think what we need to remember is that there are practical ways to find balance and prioritize what does matter the most to us. And instead of trying to do it all, let's just focus on the things that truly align with our values and God's calling for our family. And I know we talked about this. There may be some areas where you need to start outsourcing or designating different tasks.
Mhm.
So
I
grocery
even
shopping,
I have on my
cleaning,
notes, when we were talking about the Proverbs wife, she was not doing it alone. The
right?
story tells that she has people who worked for her, who worked with her, and she even had female servants
She
that
outsourced.
absolutely. She,
If she
gave
can do it, we can do it.
Yes. Yes, absolutely, and it says, in Ecclesiastes, 4, 2 are better than 1. If either of them falls, one can help the other up. We're just not meant to do it alone. Now whether, um, paying, like paying a housekeeper, paying somebody to help you with the kids, paying I'm actually in the trenches with this right now because I'm supposed to host Easter for our families. Um, and for the last couple of years, I have been the one to host, and I absolutely love it. But that week before Easter
It's so
tears
hectic.
me up.
So hectic. I
It
want everything
tears
to be
me up.
perfect, clean.
Yet clean, and I'm like, "Okay." Like, and no one cares. This is the thing that kills me. Nobody comes in
Cares.
my
Nope.
house and goes, "Oh my god."
Your
There's
floors are dirty.
yeah, they're like they are thrilled to be there. They're like, "Oh, they love being at the house. They love seeing everybody." But the week before still tears me up.
Yep.
I have, I'm like, "Oh, well, maybe I should cook this. Ooh, this would be good to serve too." So then now I'm cooking 10 things. My house needs to be cleaned. I have, the grass, of course, I want the grass to look good because when everybody pulls in, I want the house to look pretty.
Yep.
And we have the Airbnb next door, so that also has to be ready. And, but my family's going to be there. So I really want it to be like,
Extra clean.
super extra special
Yeah.
clean. And, and it's like, but on top of that, my kid has a field trip this week. One of them broke their teeth. So the whole day was dedicated to doing, stuff with him because he didn't have to go to school because he had his appointment. And then my dog is having an issue right now. Like there is all of these things, and Mother's Day is coming up, which,
It's not far off.
right now I'm like mom central. So I have things that need to be prepared and done and running before Mother's Day. So this was like a big week of like prep for all that kind of stuff.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like, so, it's pouring over here. It
No,
is pouring rain.
I feel you because we've been getting the yard and everything ready for the garden and everything that's going to come. Grass cut. Like I said, Josh and I have put out over 100 bags of mulch in the last couple of days because, just freshening up for the season,
Yeah.
but also because our family's coming down here to hunt eggs on Sunday. So
Right.
I want it to
Yes.
be perfect,
Yep.
new flowers. Um, my kid has a field trip this week too. Where are you guys going?
We are doing our Buford trip. So like the clubs do like an all-day event. And when
Oh,
I
okay.
when I say all-day event, I am not kidding you. It is literally a 12-hour thing.
Oh, we're
Yes.
just going to Helen.
Woo! I'm like, man, we're doing like a jump thing. Like it's
Like
like
a urban air?
yes,
Oh,
we're
okay.
doing that. We're doing a baseball game and, what's the golf thing where you
Top golf.
Top golf.
That's like 3 field trips in one.
I know. I know. The bus is due back at 10:30
PM?
PM.
Holy moly.
Yes. I'm like,
That is crazy.
shoo,
Mamas of littles, this is what you have to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, and plus, the Easter preparation, but the school is doing Easter stuff too. So we have to make sure that the parties and the snacks, and they're doing testing this week. So there's extra, we have to
Testing
write
next
these
week.
extra notes. It's like,
'Tis the season.
it's just one of those things where it's like, we are all juggling and we are all struggling.
And yes, we are. Teacher appreciation is coming up, so we
Oh,
have to
mercy.
remember to, shower the teachers in
Yes.
love that week.
They are half saint, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They
I
get a
mean-
special place in heaven. All teachers and educators and coaches, they all get special places in heaven. I am convinced.
Oh, speaking of which, here's my notes. We are not called to do it all, but we are called to do what God has called us to do. So I was not called to be a teacher,
Neither was I.
but I sure am thankful for those who are.
I am. And I figured out during COVID that I was not called to be a teacher.
Oh, well,
That was so challenging for us.
see, I actually do okay. It's just I actually do really well with kids, and I enjoy being around kids and teaching them and talking to them about things. There is a special place in my heart, but it's the everyday, the day in and day out thing that the teachers, go through and are in the classroom with them every single day. That's where I really fall short.
Yeah.
So oh man, I super admire that.
Because I love kids in sports and taking pictures, which is why I love doing kids sports photography.
Yes.
But Maddox was in the 3rd grade the COVID year, and Holt was still in diapers. So I'm trying to Zoom school while also, managing nap time
Yeah.
and snacks and I guess still changing diapers at that point because it was very early on. So, that was a tough season for me.
Mhm.
And it was hard, and that was when I figured out real quick like that during COVID that, teaching was not for me, and, I am forever and always in awe
Yeah.
of our teachers and educators, and I love them and I appreciate them greatly, as do you. Um, and what else do you have over there?
Well, so, what we have, we had talked about we're not called to do it all, but we are called to use our gifts. And I think that, we have to be okay with that.
Yeah,
Um, there is a lot of things that we just have to accept. And so there are some other practical tools that I have put on here as far as, sometimes we just have to accept it that we can't do it all, and that we are all going through the same things. Maybe it looks different from the outside, but none of us are doing it all. And again, we have to remember, are you comparing apples to apples? And when you think about your calling as a woman and you're talking about this this Proverbs woman, that's her overall story. And you too are going to have a beautiful overall tapestry of a life when, you know, when you look at it from above.
yeah.
But right now, we're all in it. We're all in the trenches. And so some of these other practical tools that I have is that here's another thing you just have to accept. Everything is going to take longer than you think. It will and it should. So if you think, oh, well, I seem to have a very big misconception of time,
Yes.
like how long something will
I
take
can I
me.
can be guilty of that too.
Yes, and then I'm like, "Oh, that shouldn't have taken so long." Well, it did.
It did.
It
Yep.
is what it is. If you have something that you really want to work on, time block for it. An hour a day of chipping away at something is the best way to do it rather than either not working on it at all or drowning in a task. If there is something, you guys all know I have tons of little side projects that I work on. And so if there's something that I'm like, oh, I really want to do that, but I'm just not getting to it. If I can give just like an hour a day or even 30 minutes, at least I worked on it. I'm moving forward. Um, and then I also have Be Real. There are, you cannot get a real story, a real look at someone's life and everything that they have going on when you are looking at it from the outside.
Correct.
You have to, you just have to know and accept that, we all are struggling and we're all juggling and we're all in different seasons. Um, so
Yeah, because I think that we need to remember too that in Proverbs 3:6, it says, "In all your ways acknowledge him, and he will make your paths straight." So he doesn't ask us to do everything perfectly. He just asks us to acknowledge him in everything and trust him to direct the flow of our lives. Because, again, spoiler alert, he's not calling us to be perfect. He values faithfulness, not flawlessness.
mm,
And um, in Micah 6:8, it says, "What does the Lord require of you? To act justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with your God, not to do 1,000 things that include going to the grocery store and the school drop off line, but to live justly and humbly in your everyday life." So, the practical tips, I think a good way to maybe just ease our minds into each day is to start the day with God, um, and ask Him to carry what you can't, because the mental load of motherhood can be so overwhelming, and the guilt of feeling like you're not doing enough, even when you're doing so much, can really, weigh down on you.
well, and you know what? I have a little note that kind of speaks to that too. Um, I wrote down, I feel like God has held me back from so many things because he knew what my heart actually wanted. He knows exactly what I need and want, and he can see through my prayers of worldly desires.
Yeah. I like
So
that.
there are so many things that I have thought I wanted, or I thought, why are you holding that back from me? Or I'm not where I want to be, especially at the age that I am, or I haven't done or accomplished these things that I thought that I would by this point. And he's just constantly like, nope, you're doing
My way is
exactly
better.
what I want you to be doing because he knows my heart in I mean, I truly believe he knows my heart better than me in motherhood.
Mhm.
He knows that if I fly through this season distracted, I'm going to hate myself for it.
Yeah.
And I because that's who I am very easily taken away, I get carried away, I get distracted, I'll, dig into something and just really, you know, like totally lose myself in it. And then, I can look up and be like, "Oh, well, I
Look at you.
I could have been doing that or should have been doing that or, I missed time." There's just so many things and I just feel like God is like, "Nope. You may not be where you think you wanna be because of these worldly desires or these things that you're comparing yourself with, but this is where you need to be. This is what you need to be doing."
Yep. His ways truly are better. And I think one of the things that I've learned is that he does answer every one of your prayers.
In his own
It's
way,
either a
yes.
yes, no, or a not right now,
Yeah.
but every one of them are answered.
Yep.
And it's not until you get on the other side of things that you can look back and go, "Oh, that's what you were doing.
Yeah.
Now I understand."
Yes. Yep.
And you just got to remember that we're not superhuman, and God doesn't expect us to be. Um, and I think it's real important for everyone just to create rhythms, not just routines. And instead of rigid schedules that stress you out, build flexible rhythms that allow for grace and adjustments. So you don't you don't necessarily have to stick to it perfectly.
Yeah.
Allow some room for error. Definitely give yourself grace, and just get in a rhythm. Routines are great;
Yeah.
they are great, but a rhythm is a really good start.
What does that mean, though? What exactly what do you think of when you think of, like, having a rhythm?
I mean, I think for us, it was even as simple as when we started going to church regularly. I would have loved to have been there, all 4 Sundays every month. But we started off slow if we made 2 of them.
Yeah.
We were getting in the rhythm of going.
Yeah, okay.
And then, integrating the boys into Wednesday night services, and then we jumped into small group that we've been in for, I guess, going on 2.5 years now. And it was just I feel like the rhythm led to the routine. And so
Okay.
now it's like if we miss church or something like that, text messages, phone calls, are you guys okay? Are you
Right.
good? Is somebody sick? Because it's so out of the norm now,
Mhm.
that we got our community checking in on us, our friends checking in on us. And I think it was just baby steps,
Yeah.
that led to the rhythm into the routine. And I think that's important, that just start where you're at now.
Yeah.
You don't have to have it all together. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. Just start where you're at now. Even we've had a little feedback from a previous episode about a couple of families that sat down at the table and had intentional
Oh,
meals.
yes. I loved
It's just
that.
a start.
Yep.
But that slow rhythm can
Yep.
turn into the new family routine.
Yeah.
That can be their Sunday night routine, or a calendar meeting with the kids on a Sunday or something like that. Just, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. Yeah, I can see that totally. Because if you try to set a rigid routine too, and you're not doing it or not, kind of easing into it and setting that rhythm first,
That's high
Sometimes,
expectations.
yeah, and it's really
Yeah.
frustrating when it breaks and you're like, "Oh, we missed it," or, "Oh, I messed up, we
Just
didn't."
throw it all out.
Yeah, I mean, it's really frustrating, and then you start to, feel guilty about it, and you start to be upset with yourself. "Oh, I'm not teaching these kids how to do this. I'm not doing this right." And yeah, I mean, that's you're kind of setting yourself up for failure
Yep.
there. So,
Absolutely.
I love it. I love that. All right, are we ready to finish this one up?
Let's land the plane.
All right.
Let's land the plane. So we want to remind you guys, let go of guilt. You're not failing. You are just human. Guilt doesn't come from God. Conviction leads to change, and guilt leads to shame, and that's not your portion. So we touched on that already in the condemnation versus conviction episode. If you haven't listened to it, go back and take a listen. Um, and moms, you just need to remember you don't have to carry it all. You just have to carry it to God. You are not defined by how well you juggle, but who you belong to. And so, whether today feels like a mess or a masterpiece, just remember this: you are called, you are covered, and God is in the middle of every moment, every diaper change, every Zoom meeting, every bedtime story, and every late night load of laundry.
Yes, absolutely. And can I make a little quick point too? We touched very little on the whole thing of like self-care, or just kind of vegging out, things like that. If that's what you need,
Do it.
do it. It's not something that you need to do all the time. And it's not something that you need to get in a routine of doing all the time, because it's real easy to slip into that 2-hour scroll every morning. Believe
Yeah.
me, I know, because I've been there. Um, but there are definitely times that you need to take a rest, shut your eyes, do a scroll, um, do those self-care things, because when if you are not healthy, if you are not mentally okay, if you're not even physically, I like taking walks, but I don't do it a lot because I feel like I've lost, oh, I don't have time to do that today.
Right.
But if I'm not taking care of myself physically and mentally, I certainly am not going to be able to take care of anybody else.
It's important for your kids to see you taking care of yourself.
Yeah, that's very true too.
Yeah.
That is very true. Those self-care moments, they are very, very important.
Crucial.
Sometimes it means taking a walk. Sometimes it means scrolling on the couch.
Yep. But they're both perfectly fine, and you are allowed um, to take a little time for yourself without feeling the guilt of, well, I should be doing this.
Yeah.
Or I
Well,
should be doing that. You can get to that in a minute.
yep,
Take
absolutely.
some
It'll
time for
still be
you.
there when you're done.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, please remember that the only reason we get to do Moms on a Mission is because of our wonderful producer, Stay Stoked Creative Co. You can find out more information about Stay Stoked Creative Co. in the show notes. And if you are interested in some more tips and tricks and financial stuff for kids and family, I also write a newsletter, Wealthy Kids Academy, and you can find a link for that below as well.
Thank you guys. Be blessed.
Absolutely. See you later.
Bye.